Good afternoon. This is Miss Angela from the Springville Road Library, and today I'd like to share with you our fire-bellied toads. We have 4 fire-bellied toads here at the branch. We have Prince Navi, who is the largest, Princess Tiana, who has a little bit of brown on her back, Princess Fiona, and Lady Sarah. Now these guys have been with us for quite some time, but they actually have the ability to live 20 to 30 years in captivity if they're well taken care of. Now part of the way we set their cage up is that we give them a bathing pool and we change their water every day. They have a little tree in the back that they can climb in and on. They can also use their sticky little feet, webbed feet, to climb up and down the glass. Now they have a hard time on the flat part of the glass, but if they can wedge themselves in the corner, they can use their leg muscles and arm muscles to help them climb up to a higher place. There's gravel in the bottom. We have some nice wet moss in a cup that they can bury themselves in. And we also have some artificial plants and housing in there for them to hide in. Now it's not unusual for you to see them in their bathing pool during the day, but usually they're very still unless they're getting ready to eat. They have a heat lamp that helps their cage to stay warm and also humid. They like a lot of humidity. And if you see the temperature gauge in the back, that helps us to make sure that they're being properly taken care of. Now our fire-bellied toads are very interesting animals. We enjoy watching them, and frogs happen to be one of my favorite kinds of animals anyway, so I really like these guys. Now there are 8 different species of fire-bellied toad that mainly inhabit China, but you can find them all over Europe and Asia. Their habitats are usually in or near the water, like marshes, wetlands, rainforests, lakes, and ponds, and they prefer slow-moving water. You wouldn't find them in rushing rivers. Now these toads are semi-aquatic, which means they spend part of their life in the water and part of their life on land. They usually in the spring and summer will be found in or near the water. But in the fall and winter, in the wild, they actually have the ability to hibernate. And they do this by burying themselves in the mud at the bottom of a pond or in the marshy, wet grass and areas around wherever their lake or stream, wherever they happen to live. He's getting a good look at you into the water. All right. Fire-bellied toads are super popular as pets, but you really have to take care of them. Now, again, with proper care, they can live a really long time. But how do you take care of them? What do they need? They need food. These guys are carnivores. They eat meat. So here they mostly eat crickets or worms, but they could eat a variety of insects and small fish. They're chirping a little bit if you can hear them. Now, fire-bellied toads are what we consider medium-sized toads. They're anywhere from 1.5 to 5 inches in length and usually up to about 3 ounces in weight. The back of the fire-bellied toads is a dark coloration, usually of a green or a shade of greenish brown, and they also have those dark black spots. Now those help them to hide or blend in. If a bird flies overhead and they're very still, they will look like a leaf of a plant in the shadows, and the bird may fly around and leave them alone. Now, the bumps are called tubercles, and they're just little bumpy ridges on the back of their skin. They also have smooth, brightly colored bellies, and depending on what kind of species, it'll either be yellow, red, or orange. Ours all have an orange belly. Now those orange bellies also have a lot of black splotches, kind of like camouflage painted on their belly, and they're just born that way. But just like many other brightly colored animals or plants, the fire-bellied toad advertises that it's poisonous. The warning coloration advertises its capability to hurt anything that wants to eat it. So most animals, if they've ever had one in their mouth, know that they have a very bitter taste, and they'll spit them right back out. And therefore, if they see that orange belly and they think about that bitter taste they had in their mouth, they don't want any part of it, and they'll leave them alone. Now the fire-bellied toad will take and arch its back and flip over on its back and show its big bright colored tummy, and they call that an Unken reflex, and that's how they mimic a poisonous mushroom. So most animals that have eaten those mushrooms that don't like them will also avoid the frogs. Now, oriental fire-bellied toads have a really strange croak. It's kind of like a bell or a small dog barking in the distance, and it's an unusual sound, but once you hear it, it's really hard to unhear. Did you hear them? Now generally the male makes the most noise, but the females do have the ability to croak and answer in response. In the case of the fire-bellied toads, as far as their toxin goes, it's located in their skin. So the toxin actually serves a purpose. It helps to keep bacterial and fungal infections from happening on the frog so they don't get sick very easily. But it can be very irritating if you hold them in your hand. And if you put them in your mouth, you might get a little bit sick. So as long as you don't eat them, you're going to be okay. But a lot of animals don't care for them very much. Now, in their cage, you see that moss is nice and spongy and wet in the cup. A lot of times they'll get in there and bury themselves, and the only thing sticking out are their eyes. It's kind of creepy. But that's what they like to do to be comfortable and to feel secure. Hello, friend. I think they're very, very cute. Now, it's a myth that frogs give people warts. That's not true. But it is important to wash your hands if you hold one of them. But one, because of the toxin, and two, because frogs, just like turtles, can carry bacteria. Any kind of aquatic pet really can. And if you don't wash your hands very well, it could transmit to humans and you could get sick. So it's always important to make sure that you wash your hands before and after handling them. And with the frogs, we handle them as little as possible. We take them out to feed them in a different box just to keep their cage clean, but mostly we let them do their thing. They're a look and see, not a touch and tell. Now, fire-bellied toads, because they eat meat, they like to hunt for food. And when they hunt, they'll kind of hop around, or they can even walk in kind of a zigzaggy pattern. They're what we call ambush predators, and they sneak up on their prey, and then they jump out and use their sticky tongue to catch whatever it is they want to eat. And they can use their front hands and feet to push the food into their mouth. Now, most of the time, their eyes are bigger than their stomach. General rule is, if you're going to feed an animal, the space between its eyes is about the size of whatever you're trying to feed them should be. But these guys will go after larger crickets, and they usually handle them pretty well. And even though they struggle with worms sometimes, they almost always get them down also. Fire-bellied toads spend part of the year in hibernation if they're in the wild. When they hibernate, they slow their body's metabolism down, and they don't need to eat as much. They're exothermic, or cold-blooded animals, and amphibian, that's the word we call frogs. Amphibian just means both lives. They live both on land and in the water. But in order to live in both environments, they have to go through a change, or something we call a metamorphosis, kind of like a caterpillar to a butterfly. When the frog is born, it's hatched from an egg, and it's a tadpole. The tadpole lives in the water its entire time. But then later, its gills begin to change to lungs, and it starts to grow feet, and its tail begins to shrink, and it becomes the frog that you see in front of you. And after that, it mostly lives its life in and out of the water, breathing air just like we do. Now, these frogs breathe air through their nose and mouth just like we do, but they also inhale and take oxygen in through their skin. So that's another reason not to hold them a lot, because the oils in our skin can clog their pores and make it difficult for them to breathe. Now, these frogs are super, super popular as pets, like I said, but it's very important that if you get one, that you remember that these guys live a long time, so you have to be prepared to be responsible for them. They also are really good escape artists, because they can climb up the side of their cage if they wedge themselves in the corner and use those leg and arm muscles. So make sure your lid is secure, make sure you have all the things that they need to be healthy, and be in it for the long haul. I enjoy watching them, I enjoy listening to them, and I enjoy learning about them. We'd love it if you'd come visit us at the library when we reopen to see some of our little friends. I'm going to see if I can get a shot of our other friend for you. This is Tiana. Hello, Princess Tiana. As you can see, she's got a little bit of brown on her back, and that's just the way she's naturally colored. This is Princess Fiona, stretched out in the water. She's taking a little bath and cooling herself off. That's Prince Navi. He's our big fella. And this little one with the bright green color is Lady Sarah. Now, Lady Sarah and Princess Fiona are our two newest fire-bellied toads. We've only had them for maybe 2 or 3 years, so not a long, long time. Tiana and Navi actually came from the Homewood Library. They donated them to us, and we've had them for a very long time. So we're not sure how old they are, but they are very active. They like to jump around. They like to communicate. There we go. I hope you've enjoyed seeing our fire-bellied toads. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop by the children's desk. We'd love to share some more information with you. Hope you have a great day.